So today I was watching The Lord of the Rings when a question suddenly popped into my head. What exactly are Gandalf's powers? I googled this thinking I would find a list explaining exactly what his powers were, but the only thing I found were people on forums guessing what his powers were based on speculation of what he did in the movies. So naturally, I did what any normal person would do. I watched the 4-hour and 30-minute extended version of each Lord of the Rings movie and noted down any time Gandalf did anything that could be considered magic. In The Fellowship of the Ring, he yelled at Bilbo for accusing him of trying to steal the ring from him. He also made the lights dim, he seemed to grow, and his voice grew more and more booming as he yelled, which all of these quite terrified Bilbo. I suppose this was illusion magic because I don't know what else it could be. He also did this exact thing later on when everyone was arguing about who was going to carry the ring to Mount Doom. A little bit later, Gandalf got into what I can only describe as a telekinetic throwing match with Saruman. They essentially took turns throwing each other into the wall and ground with their minds. Saruman actually wins this, and Gandalf finds himself trapped on the roof of the tower. He is saved soon after by talking to a moth and asking it for help. The moth then fetched a giant eagle to come get him. So it looks like general nature magic, or at least communicating with animals, is power number 3. Number 2 being telekinesis. When the party first enters the Mine of Moria, Gandalf inserts a crystal into the head of his staff and makes it glow a bright white light to serve as a torch. The reason for the crystal is never explained or used again, but the power to create a light source is clearly demonstrated here. The battle with the Balrog is next, sporting the famous line, "You shall not pass," followed by Gandalf slamming his staff down and causing a wall of energy to run into the Balrog, staggering it back. I'm guessing that this is some kind of telekinetic power or force push, but it is never explained what he did exactly. After dying from the battle with the Balrog, Gandalf is sent back to the land of the living as Gandalf the White, possibly a more powerful version of himself. He finds his companions, but hides himself, emanating a bright light from his body. They think he is Saruman, so they attack him. Gandalf deflects an arrow, a throwing axe, then places a boon on Aragorn's sword to make it too hot to hold. So I guess this falls under the category of light casting, fire magic, and really good reflexes. After emerging from the forest they were in, Gandalf whistles to summon subtype of mystical horse that Legolas knows about, but I couldn't care less because all he did was ride it like a normal horse. So there's some more nature powers. The only other thing he did in the two towers was remove a curse or possession or whatever it was placed on King Theoden by Saruman. According to Dungeons and Dragons, there is a level 3 spell called Remove Curse that falls under the School of Abjuration. So I guess we'll go with that one. In the third and final movie, Gandalf does almost nothing as far as magic goes. After one of the battles, they find Saruman in a tower. He shoots a fireball and Gandalf, but Gandalf creates a force field of some sort to block the fireball. There is a spell in Dungeons and Dragons called Protective Barrier that is a level 1 spell that creates a 5-foot wall of force as it's described. So I suppose he did that. The only other thing he did in this movie was cast a ray of light into the eyes of some wyverns during a battle in order to blind them. And that's it. So based on the 13.5 hours of evidence, this is what my conclusion is. Gandalf is a battle mage. He never uses magic in battle unless he is fighting a demon or an otherworldly creature, and he has no choice but to use magic. Instead, he prefers a dual weapon fight using a sword and his staff, which is totally fine considering he is very skilled at this. He likes to use light and fire magic and some illusion magic for convincing or manipulating people normally. He can use nature magic, at least to the extent of communicating with animals, and I'm sure he can use magic detection since he is always the first one to yell run when shit hits the fan. Other than that, he can use basic spells that any other wizard could probably use. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the extent of Gandalf's powers, at least what he demonstrates for us in the movies. Thank you, and have a good day.